What's up, everybody? Good morning. Hello. Wake up. You're at home with Dynasty with one of everybody's favorite retired off-the-bench player, Brandon Short. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming. I know that you were, we had to take you away from your busy schedule at HK Army selling headbands, jerseys, team apparel, and all that stuff. So thank you very much for making some time.
Thanks for having me. I actually thought this was going to be the Joe Rogan show, but it turns out it's Ryan Greenspan. So you will have to do today, but we'll make it quick and we'll make it great.
Yeah. Joe Rogan's probably right around the corner. They're going to call you up pretty soon, I'm sure. That after they see this one, this is what's going to propel you. I know you have a lot of sales calls that you have to get on right now, but after people see this, they're so profoundly educated from what you have to say here. They're going to want to order so much more stuff. It's going to be crazy. So think of this as like making you money. Yeah. So it's paid dividends like in the future. Yeah. It's an option.
Nice.
So if you're not familiar with the At Home with Dynasty series, it started off as a little project during quarantine to kind of let everybody know into the lives of the roster players. And then we were talking a little bit about the Field One stuff and then what everybody's doing. And then a little bit from the past, we had Blake talking about his misadventures across the world. Every time that he basically steps foot out of his house is a possible misadventure. And a little bit from growing up with Yosh and then everybody's kind of design ideas and stuff like that with their forces. But then obviously Dynasty has a huge bench, roster of players in the 60 plus range. And we've just been inviting new people on there. So we did have Rodney Squires on last and he knocked it out of the park, probably the best one yet. So you have you have some big shoes to fill.
Good. It's easy. 1 of 60, probably the best out of those 60. So it should be easy.
Yeah, arguably one of the best snake players that we've had. That's for sure. So I want to talk to you a little bit, just kind of like your path to going pro, and then like your decision from what you did with the Ironman to join Dynasty.
For sure. So I kind of had a unique way of jumping into the pro scene. I got kind of lucky, tell you the truth. What happened in 2004, basically the Ironman had broken up. The majority of those guys joined Excessive, which left a big gap in the Ironman. The Ironman's always been around because it's kind of a factory team through Dye Precision. So they needed to fill the spots. And they were, I'd almost say, desperate. They had an open tryout. They invited a bunch of guys.
It certainly must have been.
Bunch of guys from the Southern California scene at SC Village, which included a lot of the Hostel kids, Bobby Aviles, Scott Kemp, Goat Hong joined, Stephen Pitts.
Did Mark Cresson make it?
Mark Cresson got on the B team, which would be legacy. So and then I basically heard about it because like playing at SC Village every single weekend, it's just, hey, next weekend there's an Ironman tryout. Come if you want. And I showed up, and long story short, I made the team on the first weekend. They were desperate.
Yeah, they were extremely desperate. Well, I mean, not to, but I mean, you emerged as becoming like one of the best snake players. I'd say, like a top 5-10 snake player, like overall in the world so far. It's unmatched. And it afforded you so many opportunities to be able to play all over the world and kind of put you where you are now. But so fast forward, you guys have won some World Cups. You guys won a ton of, like, not a ton, but you guys have won a good amount of events. How long did you play for Ironman?
So I played 2004 to 13. So roughly 9.5 years. It was good. It was a really great team. I loved it. I never really thought I was going to leave the team because that was the first 9 years of my paintball career, which were also kind of some of my formative years growing up. I joined when I was 17, so that put me into my late 20s. But what I realized was, unlike Dynasty, that team was more kind of like what they call it, a factory team. It was based off of, the company has a paintball team that markets their product, no matter what, the team's going to march forward. Doesn't matter who's on it, and it just keeps moving forward. Versus a dynasty team where you guys were really based a lot on friendship, and you guys are still there. The core of the team's still there. So I kind of learned a lesson that, while the team treated me amazingly, this thing's going to move on without me. And I kind of need to do what was right for myself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I love the way that you put that. And that's kind of that's how Dynasty was born to begin with, right? We were a team. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to be a factory team, because once you're a factory team, that owner can choose your fate, right? And obviously, I guess arguably in some sense, Alex, Yosh, and I could have said, we're going to do this, whether you like it or not. But for the most part, we were built on like a democracy. We're the team that like, we want everybody's input. And I know that it took a while, especially for you to like, and all new players, like get over that hump of like, it's okay to speak up and say what you want. We were asking you, like, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to do this event? Should we do this? Do you want to do that? Like, we're really, really eager to get everybody's opinion. And I think that's Alex touched on it really well in like the Play the Game podcast. It's like, everybody, we're all here for the love of the game. We're promoting our sponsors products, obviously, by HK and Field One Paintball. But at the end of the day, like, we want you there. We want people on our team because they want to be there, not because they're playing for a paycheck or because they have to be there, because they're an employee of Dye. So you have to play on a Dye team. We want people who want to be here. And I think that kind of what you said was hit the nail on the head.
Totally. And I mean, I kind of noticed it towards the end when we had to make tough decisions about cutting guys. And, they kind of felt my opinion out once in a while, but they would cut a guy who I was like, oh man, I thought that was like our guy. That was one of our best friends, but it felt a lot more like business than being on like a team or a tribe. And I saw that right away joining Dynasty. So yes, all that's very true. So it's just different. Dynasty is just a different dynamic. Like I say, it's the good guys at paintball.
Yeah, the good guys at paintball. I like that. That's a good motto. I think we should actually change that. Can you have Jay after this meeting put a note down, and can you run upstairs to the owner squad above you and tell them that we want to have that written on our jersey somewhere? We're the good guys. We really are, man. And Alex always said it. He's always said it. He's like, we're out here fighting the good fight. And I always like to say that it's a funny way to say it, but it's totally true. Like we're fighting the good fight. Like we're in the trenches. We're doing every single event all around the world that we possibly can for paintball. And I like to think that all paintball players are in it because paintball's fun. Not many people are in it because they're making big bucks and they have to be here. It's because everybody wants to play paintball. So that's the one, great thing about paintball and paintball players.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. I think more than ever too, with everything going on, especially with paintball kind of being taken away from everybody, that people miss it and they realize the camaraderie and kind of the gift that is paintball, and everyone misses it. And if you took it for granted, then now more than ever, you realize what a cool thing it is that we all get to experience.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And speaking of experiences and stuff like that, and like how cool, I want you were like so traveling. We talked about traveling and all this and whatnot to briefly on all these events. Like, everybody has their travel stories, but the Ironman never played in Europe, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you had to always guest with a team. So like, just take me through kind of like your first experience traveling over there. Because I know everybody has a funny European story, and then I'm going to bring one up from you, and then just kind of like, what would you to be prepared, and like, what advice would you give? Because obviously we have all the Team USA kids that are out there. We have a bunch of up and coming pros that are players that are like wanting to get their foot in the door, and I think Europe is a great way to, if you have the opportunity to do it, is to get over there.
It was. And that was like such a goal. Because I think that's kind of like a pillar in paintball. It's like, yeah, you go pro, you can be successful in the US, but your next like step up is getting yourself out to Europe and beyond. Mm-hmm. So I was like foaming at the chance to get out to Europe, and I would do anything. And basically, like I said, the Ironmen were not a team that travel really anywhere besides the US. So anything I wanted to do, I kind of had to do it on my own. Even though there opportunities did come up with other teams. Actually, for example, Nexus was the team I joined. It was the European factory team for Dye. So in that aspect, Dye did help me out. But every time I went to Europe, it was by myself. You know, it wasn't. I didn't get to really have that camaraderie and experience of going with my friends at first. It was just me, and luckily these guys are English, because a lot of times you go over there, you play with guys who don't speak English. But just to share my one story, I'll give you my very first time going to Europe. I was so desperate to go that I would take any flight, right? So I think that's kind of how they said that, how they got me over there. They're like, yeah, he's cheap, he'll do whatever. Basically, my return flight was like some 24-hour flight from Germany. I had to spend the night at an airport. This is my very first time too. So I'm like out. So I'm inside the airport. I don't know how this works. I think,
how old are you?
Maybe midnight, 20 years old. So midnight hits, and the security guard is like, hey, you got to get out of here. And I'm like, oh no, like, what do I do now? So I basically had to sleep not quite outside of the airport, but right out in front. I was able to kind of keep warm. But I slept on the airport floor waiting for my connection flight. And back then I never would have thought like, oh, maybe I should go get a hotel somewhere, go see this place for a few hours. I just waited for my flight. But that's just how desperate and ready and eager I was to play paintball. So.
Yeah, and I think that's important, you know. And actually, just to note, I think that everybody needs to to take a step back. And one big thing to take away from that is being 20 years old in an airport in Germany, or maybe it was in London on the connection or something like that. But there wasn't like the technology on your phone and Wi-Fi. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't where it is today. Like you can't just say I'm going to go get myself a hotel room because that's something that's really easy. You have to have like a bunch of coins and use like a payphone. I'm pretty sure back then.
Yeah, that didn't even dawn on me, but tell you the truth, I would actually, because I had like a Nokia flip phone, I would just leave it at home back in the US because I'm like, this thing is no good to me out here. So it would always be fun to come home to all like the messages or whatever. But yeah, I had no phone, like nothing whatsoever. I just forgot about that.
Yeah,
it's been so long.
You don't even think about it that way, right? Like just technology, because we've been doing it for so long. Like technology is so much different. I mean, the first time that I went to Europe was in 2000. So it would have been 20 years ago with Alex Fragi when I graduated high school. I was 18. We had a book. We had a book this big, like one of those travel guides, you know, and like Lonely Planet. We didn't make any reservations. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We landed in England and we're like, well, where are we going? And we walked around the city until we found, you know, when you go to Europe in the summertime, you don't have reservations. You can't just find places. And so we were like on a budget, and we blew through our budget, like a three days worth of our budget on a one-night hotel. We were just like, what do we get ourselves into? Because you can't there's no contact. You just couldn't do that as easily as you can now. You can get an international plan. You spend $50 and you can just now use your phone the whole month over there, you know?
I actually forgot that actually made the experience that much better, because back then you had no phone, no way of Yelping, figuring out restaurants. It was just all blind luck. I mean, that's half the time why you're like, oh, the food's terrible here, because you would just be like, oh, I guess this place.
Yeah, because you had to go to different places. You're walking around eating at Denny's and you didn't even know, and Waffle House.
Yeah, exactly.
Waffle House.
Yeah. So nowadays, I mean, now when we go over there, we look up, never great, but it's decent. And yeah, it was fun.
Right. So like for up and coming travelers, I guess it's just kind of like get your foot in the door however you can, and if you have to take lousy flights to get there, but just get out there and get the experience is kind of what you made of it.
Yeah, any cost. Any cost.
Yeah. Tell me then this story. So you're lucky, by the way, that like you did touch on that. Like you got to play with an English team, so they spoke English. I've only ever played on a foreign team that doesn't speak really any English. I had to play with a German team, and you're trying to explain to them that you don't drink water with bubbles in it, or soda when you're in the pits, and then like a Russian team that didn't speak really any English.
How do you tell them not to smoke cigarettes while you're playing?
Yeah, can you please not smoke cigarettes in the pit? So that doesn't like while they're getting ready, instead of having like a drink of water, they have a puff of cigarettes.
I've seen you yell at more people about smoking cigarettes in the pits.
I think it's a safety, like I'm fighting the good fight. I'm fighting the good fight, making sure that people aren't smoking in the pits. Tell me about the time that you got detained and turned around in London.
Oh yeah, forgot about that one.
Because this is something you shouldn't do when you're headed over. So what not to do when you land in a foreign country?
So when I was first traveling, maybe like this was year 2 of like heavy traveling. So at year 2, I thought I had it all licked. I thought I understood the system. Thought I had everything figured out. I landed in England, which for whatever reason, it's actually really hard to get into England compared to other countries like Canada and England. Those are 2 of the hardest. I heard America is too. But I was tired. I was in this long line, and then I had to talk to this customs lady. And I always say, no offense to anybody out there, but try to avoid the ladies at the custom line. I always find the guys, it's a little bit easier. But she grilled me. She kept grilling me about like where I was staying. And I mean, it's kind of like what we just touched upon. I had no idea. Like these guys would just pay for me, show up, and then just jump in the car, and then you're off to a paintball event. So she grilled me about everything. Where were we playing? I don't know. Where were we staying? I don't know. Who's picking you up? It could be one of these 3 people. What's their phone number? I don't have my phone. It's at home. And then, so I didn't actually, so let me back up. I didn't actually tell her I was playing paintball, because I feel when you bring up paintball, you're opening Pandora's box, and you have to explain way more than usual, right? Like you say paintball, they're like, what's that? And you go down this road. Well, I was tired, like I mentioned. So I said I was like a soccer player. I said I was going over there to play some footy. And that was a red flag. I don't know why. Maybe I just didn't appear to be that type of guy. And then what really kind of got me was she asked how much money was in my bank account. And now I'm thinking, is this like some movie? Is she trying to set me up? Does she want all $50 when I get outside this airport and jump me? So I told her, I forgot how much I told her, but none of my answers made her happy. So that put me into basically a holding cell where they kept me for probably 5 hours. And then from there, they decided that I was no good and they were sending me back home. But the problem was there was no longer any flights that day, because typically there's maybe 1 or 2 flights, one in the morning, one at night to get back home. So you can't just stay at the airport. So they had to put me into a detainee center, which basically is a transferring unit for like criminals between countries and kids who don't know what hotel they're staying at. So they took me, put me in handcuffs, took me into a van, drove me to this detainee center where I kind of had to do the whole rigmarole of like fingerprints, photos. They put me into like this room with 4 other guys. and just like prison, they gave me 1 phone call. So I called my mom, and there was like a time difference, and she picked up. And I was like, Mom, this is hard to explain, but they're not letting me in the country. I'll be back tomorrow. And I just said, I love you. And she's like, what? Huh? Who? I'm like, I'll call you back later. And then I just hung up on her. And then long story short, went to bed, handcuffs again, drove me through the back part of the airport, put me right on the airplane, actually, with these like plastic handcuffs, put me in my seat where people had already been, uncuffed me, and there I was for another, 15 hours.
And then the people sitting next to you are probably like, uh-oh, I just sit next to a criminal?
Yeah, like Hannibal Lecter. And the best part was they stamped my passport, And then because I guess I didn't get in, they put a big X through it, right? Well, now for the next 10 years or however long I had that passport, I always had to explain this huge X in my passport.
Oh man, I remember that. I remember that event, and everybody's like, "What do you mean he didn't make it in the country? What did he say? What could you possibly say to blow it?" Like.
But to be fair,
even
you
now,
traveled so much, like that's not common. Like you can tell them anything you want. Like wow, like that person just had it out for me.
Dude, I still don't even know what hotels I'm staying in. I'll be like, I always write Holiday Inn, like Holiday Inn London, like it was super ambiguous. Or the Holiday Inn in Sydney, like that's where I'm staying. Like I don't know what the Rouse Hill 66 something lane. I mean, I obviously. For those of you who are listening, it's not that hard now just to like figure it out and just kind of have it already pre-planned. But I guess I've done it enough and gotten by this way that I'm just lazy about it, but are complacent with it. But yeah, know where you're going and have some contact numbers, I guess.
Do it.
But it is
trust
funny.
me.
It is funny. Yeah, trust me. It is funny though. England does like a lot of times they go, how much money do you have? And you're like, what do you mean how much money do I have? Like what kind of credit cards do you have? Like, what? Because I think that they think that you're trying to like. I always tell them as politely as possible. Like, look, I'm not trying. Australia is the same way. Like, I want to go home. Trust me, I will be here on Monday morning. I don't want to stay. I've been here too many times. I'm overstaying here. I don't really like it here. I just want to go home. So let me in or not.
So I mean,
stop harassing.
Ultimately, they got me because they said I needed a working permit or whatever. Because I told them the truth. I'm like, yeah, I played pro paintball, and that was what actually got me was the title pro. They figured I was this professional guy making money, no working permit or whatever it would be, and yeah, so
for sure.
That's what did it.
So back, let's switch gears back to Dynasty, and we'll talk a little bit about kind of coming onto the team and like, I don't know, aside from I don't know how many times, I'm trying to think of how many tournaments we won together on Dynasty, including the epic 10-man win. It's probably like 5 or 6, maybe more, 7.
I'd put it right there. I was going to say 5 or 6.
Yeah, 5 or 6. So what are some of your favorite Dynasty moments, I guess? If you have any.
Favorite Dynasty moments. Okay. Well, no, I do. It's easy. It's actually pretty easy. It's
when I said, you're on the team.
Welcome. Yeah. Well, I'll do the corny answer first. Corny answer is going to Whole Foods and then eating and having team meetings. Because like now that I'm retired and I look back, and what makes me want to go play again is just those moments. And I know that's kind of cheesy, but like, yeah, going to Whole Foods, hanging out in the meeting room, like. That far surpassed paintball for me. Even though paintball is the best thing ever, that was ultimately the best. But as far as like actual moments that we all experienced, I would say probably just, you got to say winning World Cup. It was pretty epic.
Right.
It was in epic fashion. It wasn't easy. It was one of those tournaments that was hard, kind of almost all the way through. We maybe had like 1 or 2 easy matches. And Cassidy filmed that epic video, so we have like proof to relive it.
I got proof.
Like it actually happened. And I mean, there's thousands of great memories already, but that is probably the epitome of my Dynasty.
I love that answer because you know what, you're right. That's right. Like you can't replace the fun that everybody has together. And it's funny because I played on a bunch of other teams, and nobody hangs out together like this. Like they have their little cliques. Every team like gets in their van and they pin it out of there. And they get in their van, they pin it out of there. These guys are going to Chick-fil-A. These guys are going to go somewhere else. Like we don't really force everybody to do it, but everybody wants to do everything together. Like sometimes we'll drive 45 minutes to go to Whole Foods, and as snobby as that sounds, it's such a fun experience. Like everybody can pick their own stuff out, and then we all just hang out and like talk shit and banter back and forth and watch Go Sports and do all that stuff. And I think you're right. There's something to that. And I sure miss it.
I think the biggest code crack was doing the rooms where we would pull names out of a hat and you were forced to stay with somebody else on the team. And not that, especially on our team, you didn't want to, but you know how easy it is to like form a little clique and always sleep with somebody or always be roommates with a certain guy, you know. This kind of
Right.
forced
Yeah.
your hand to be with every single guy. It just made a huge world of difference.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know how many people who are going to be watching this, kind of like how their room situations work. You know, a lot of times divisional players are going to cram 4 or 5 guys into a room, but if your team has the liberty to be able to like stay in the same place, and everybody kind of has their own bed, you're right. Like I think that is such a cool concept that Rusty had implemented, because before it was everybody kind of hang with their bunk buddy, and then Alex would be stuck with whoever the new guy was.
Yeah, I mean, it brings me back to like the Ironman. I would always be with the young kids, you know, like I never got to room with the other guys, and you just kind of you're missing that overall team experience. So, but I do know a lot of divisional guys cram into a room.
Right. Yeah. I guess you talk to a lot of the divisional team now, because you run the team division of HK, right? Are you the sponsor guy, right? The guy.
Yeah. So I do a few things here, but teams is definitely under the umbrella where I'm talking to teams like from every single level of like the first time team to semi-pro, even dealing with like aftermath. Unfortunately, I got to deal with Dynasty, real pain in the butt.
Dynasty, yeah, those jerks.
Yeah, always wanting stuff for free.
Well, so that is funny, because you are our guy. Like it's so much better that you're our guide rather than me having to like send an email to 3 people over there hoping that one of them will get it. Because I know that like even though I give them shit, I can give you shit a little bit, but it's kind of more of a joke. Sometimes they don't get the humor.
No, and these guys are too busy. They don't want to deal with teams. They love the teams, but that they give them to me.
Yeah. So retirement. So you're retired. We're still waiting on the comeback. I'm sure it's going to happen soon. I know it. I can feel it. But what is the real world like out there? What is like? You're working at HK. You're in the real world. You got married. That's what happens when you start playing paintball. Yeah.
You get married. I mean, working at HK has been a great experience. I would say this is hands down like my first real job / career. But there was definitely a learning curve. It's like I was going to school before, and school is great, but it doesn't really, it's like beginner mode for work, because work, it's every single day. It carries on to the nighttime if your cell phone's going off, and it's just, it's good, but it's a grind. It's like a nonstop grind, and kind of forming that endurance is something that that the first year was like the biggest learning curve, is just the endurance of working every single day. It sounds snobby, but I was a paintball player for a long time.
Yeah. Having everything kind of almost done for you. Well then, yeah. But you also got to work on a project you've been kind of working on for a while, the Pro Tour. So tell us about the Pro Tour. Like, what was the idea, where it was born from, why you haven't played it yet, the whole deal,
So Pro Tour paintball, that's like my new baby. It's kind of replaced that fire and passion that I had for playing paintball, and to trying to create a new format within paintball. So Pro Tour, if you don't know, it's a one-on-one. Right now, we're primarily focusing on professionals playing each other. I'm trying to find, the biggest names in paintball, and I'm trying to create these matches and stream them, film them to share with the world. And I did this for multiple reasons. The number one is just, it's a format that's very digestible. You can watch it, understand it. You can show your grandma, be like, Grandma, I'm the guy with the white headband and the hoop earrings. That's me. And and it's just easy. It's just an easy format. It's easy to watch. And yeah, I mean, I can't really say much more about it besides it's my real passion project. I want to see it grow. You've participated in it twice, which I'm very grateful for. And we're working on another event. It's actually really hard to put these things on. And yeah,
Yeah, maybe actually you're right. Like that is a good point. Maybe in your next event, and I only know you guys are working on a next event because I was there and I told you guys should do a next event. I was there yesterday, but I said, "When's your next event?" But maybe you guys should open it up to divisionals. I know you guys have pros, and everybody wants to see the pros, and that's kind of like where the draw is. But it was fun to watch Big Sexy and Han Wu play. You know, it's fun to watch all those games, really, and you might see a different type of dynamic, right? Because and even watching the 3 matches that were put on last time, the Scott and Kyle match was kind of methodical. Like the games were won from kind of more in the back a little bit more. The Pat Craft Jr. and match was just a blunt smashing heads up game all the time, trying to score points, trying to slam dunk, and then the Tyler and Keith one was like just a slow play, slow burn. Tyler just let him into his trap. Such a strategic game, and then at the end, Tyler just started scoring those points once kind of Keith was against the ropes. But it would be cool to see how divisional players play it, because would there be a strategy so maybe even open up the next Pro Tour 7-man and throw in a divisional rounds.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely on the agenda. I think this year, with everything happening with COVID, it's really kind of made things really difficult. But I mean, that's completely on the agenda. Like I really want to get that going. That's a way for me to expand it, grow it faster, get people interested in it. And I just figured in my mind, it was like, let's get the pros to do it first. And that's almost a marketing tool, open it up to the world, which is on the docket. Coming soon. Just no date, no ETA.
So I mean, I'm rooting for you. I think it's exciting. And when we did a live show on Facebook every week, Kyle and I do it, and it seemed like the majority of the people who are watching both the Go Sports version, the Ultimate Shootout, which is exciting, and I like the buzzer concept. Maybe there's just too many buzzers for me. But the Pro Tour, like you said, is a little bit easier to follow just because it's just cut and dry. There's only one way to score, and you have to shoot the guy on the other side of the field. And so as long as, they're both exciting, it seemed like more people were favoring your format a little bit more. I like the dynamic game. That's why I'm always going to favor team paintball, because there's more dynamic stuff going on. But you're right. It is nearly impossible to follow if you don't know what the hell you're watching.
It is. It's completely different. Like a one-on-one is going to be all about your snap shooting. Like I always say that it could be like a tennis match where your snapshot is kind of like your tennis swing, right? And that's what it's a lot of that's breaking down to, and also your mental tenacity. But team paintball is so much more dynamic. There's so many more moving parts. Communication. I mean, obviously there's no communication in a one-on-one. So they're two very different things. There's definitely room in this world for both. But I like the one-on-one aspect. It's like a fight. It's like you're going into the small little arena and it's you versus that guy. And it feels like you're throwing blows, and it's exciting and it's cool to see. And it's just fun for me as a paintball fan to try to make these matches happen. Almost like a fight promoter where I'm trying to find the best guys, the best, players to match up against each other, who I would like to see play each other. So
modern day Don King.
Yeah, there you go. I think Dana White.
Dana White. Yeah, you do look a little bit more like Dana White because your hair.
We got the hair. The hairs.
Yeah.
I knew you would say that. Things are falling apart over here.
So last couple of questions. Well, first of all, I want to know, I think everybody wants to know, so when are you going to come back and start playing for Dynasty again?
Truthfully, the team looks pretty good. When I first joined Dynasty in 2013, it was in shambles. It was on fire. Me, Tyler, and Spica had to bring the fire hose out, put it out, build it back up. Right now, the team looks really good, honestly. The team looks great. I'm looking at Arturo and the Snake. He looks somehow. He looks amazing. And but maybe soon. I don't know. COVID. It's a hot COVID summer. Anything's possible.
That's right. So just to show you a little R&D work, because we do want to mention the Field One Force, and I want to get your take on what. So we're gonna design. We got to have your signature series force. I think you've seen a bunch of the anodizing specialties that we've done on everybody's guns, and I think they look pretty cool. I'm gonna ask your favorite here in a second, but I've got this is how we do things at Field One. Okay, so I've got a gun here. Okay, I've got a box of crayons. All right, so yeah, you know how R&D works. So I'm going to design your gun right now, so that way we can have it. We can send this over to Arc Anodizing and be like, okay, the Brandon Short one is like, get ready, because he's coming back.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So give me some design ideas real quickly, and I'm gonna give me some colors and let me know what you want to put on yours. We got 48 different colors here, so it's the sky's the limit.
Truthfully, I was thinking like a red gun.
Okay.
I wanted to base it off of a king snake. Have you ever seen a king snake before?
Oh, the black, red, and white banded snake.
White. Yeah. So you can't anodize white because it's impossible, but you can use the gunmetal to make it look white.
You can actually. Did you ever see Tyler's original? His original signature series Tiger Zord that wasn't polished.
It was powdered almost, right?
Yeah, that's like a cool white, I think.
Yeah, I mean I love if you can figure out how to make the guns white, woof, you guys, that'd be sweet.
Woof. So whose is your favorite gun so far?
Truthfully, since you were just here and you'll vouch for me, that I said all the guns look good. Arc Anodizing is doing an amazing job. Since you're here, I'll definitely tell you yours is really cool.
That's right.
I don't think it's cool you copied Marcelo, but that's a different time, different story. Tyler's is amazing. And I think I mentioned I like Blake's. Blake's came out really cool. It has like that like dark leopardy look to it. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, the leopard, the panther. His nickname is the Panther. You know that.
Panther, yes.
Yeah. So it's a panther, and I believe a leopard and a panther are pretty close in family. I think panthers are all black, but I think they do. You watch that. Oh, the Black Panther. Yeah. But he doesn't have any spots. But I think hold on, I think we've got. I think I'm onto something here. You're gonna really like what I've got here for you. So what advice would you give to any up and coming snake players while I'm finishing up this design here for you? And say there's a kid out here who plays the snake, wants to be one of the best players in the world, and wants to get his very own king snake gun made someday.
I think, especially if you're just starting to play the snake, it's maybe after practice, before practice, at lunchtime, just get yourself in there, right? Because the snake is so unique to the rest of the field. It's down low. You're in awkward positions. You got to figure out how to be very comfortable in there, because if you can't get comfortable in there, you're never going to be able to kind of properly fight, right? If you don't know how to shoot right or left-handed, you can't really play paintball. Same with the snake. You got to learn how to manipulate your body to get in there, be comfortable, because once you can get through that, now you can start thinking clearly. So I think my very first advice is get in there, get comfortable, figure it out. And then once you can do that, then you can start applying all your other skills to paintball in there. But do your yoga, do your stretching, get it right, get it tight.
Dun, 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 dun. How's that?
Well, I got to tell you the truth. I think the screen froze, but I'm guessing it's really cool.
Oh, you can't see me?
I can't see you.
No.
It's okay. I'm imagining it's really, really cool.
Oh, it's pretty. It's probably some of my best work. Now it's no Alex Frage. It doesn't really look like a king snake. I think it might actually. We'll get a full graphic of this, and I'll have them put it up there in post production. But I I think that this is something that we could really nail it home with. This will sell a lot of units.
Yes, put it on pre-order. Put it on pre-order. Text me my commission, and let's make this happen.
Yeah, we'll text you your commission. We'll keep the cash, but we'll text you the numbers. Is there anything else before I let you go back and hit the sales? Is there anything else you want to announce to the people? Do you want to tell anybody, share anything else, or tell them where to contact you if you've got a store, a field, or a team? Maybe, I don't know if that's even how.
Sure. I mean, for all the paintball teams out there, if you're interested in finding out about sponsorship information, you could hit me up via email. It's going to be teams@hkarmy.com. Feel free to email me any questions you have. You can find me on Instagram. It's going to be short. I'm not very active, but
so don't find you on
Pro
Instagram.
Tour account, the Pro Tour account, I'm all over. It's going to be @Pro Tour Paintball. That's my baby. Trying to get new events coming out. Just trying to stay in the scene, trying to keep paintball going. And I appreciate being here at home with Dynasty.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Go ahead and flood B Short's Instagram and his Pro Tour thing, and tell him that he needs to get back in the game so we can release the B Short King Snake edition Signature Series Force.
It's a good name. I like it.
I like it. It might have been a little long. It's a mouthful. The B Short Signature Series King Snake Force. But we'll BSKS B Short King Snake. Whoa. All right.
I like that. I like that.
See, the wheels are turning here, man. We're ready for you. We're waiting.
R&D.
R&D. All right, man. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. And get back to work.
Cool. Thank you so much.